Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit because he was fucking useless.
Lovely. 35, we said, yeah?
35, definitely. I've triple checked.
35 it is then. 35 it is. I went for a 10-mile walk today.
Did you 10 miles?
In my house.
Oh, you're not like that old boy, are you, that's doing the thing in his garden?
Well, it wasn't necessarily the inspiration for it, but I was thinking of... Because the dad dancing is all right. I'm still doing that.
Yeah.
But then I started running from one room to the other.
Oh, nah.
And I thought, actually, do you know what? I could spend more time walking just to kill time more than anything. So, yeah, I walked 10 miles in my house this morning.
How long did that take you?
Just shy of 3 hours. But because the GPS doesn't work very well in the house.
Ah, right. Well, so you don't know.
I wasn't getting a lock all the time, but my watch counts how many steps I take, and it's roughly 10,000 steps is 5 miles.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How many steps have I done today? Let me check now. Well, I've done 8,056 steps, and I've done 2.15 miles.
2.15. A lot of that was probably inside then, because that doesn't sound quite right. Okay, Google. How far is 8,000 steps?
On the website thecalculatorsite.com, they say this means that 10,000 steps convert to between 4 and 5 miles, with average stride length. Do you want a little more context?
No. So 8,000, well, it's 80%, isn't it, basically? Yeah. So 80% of 5 is 4 miles. So, yeah, roughly 4 miles. Mind you are a short ass.
I'm just going to say I have got little legs, haven't I? Let's be honest.
Maybe your stride isn't as... but I still think you're closer to 4 miles than you are 2.5.
Yeah, probably. I probably set this thing up wrong on my phone, haven't I? So that's what it is. As long as I'm getting me 10,000.
A lot of it could be to do with the GPS, but I thought if I go by the steps, at least then I know that's accurate, because my watch is on me all the time, obviously. So
yeah. I don't put mine on until I actually go out. So, like, for the first hour in the morning, mine's is not on. So, there could be that, couldn't it?
It could be, yeah. I mean, mine, I can't actually feel my legs at the moment.
Why is that?
And I can't leave the house anyway, so it doesn't really make a lot of difference to me, to be honest.
That's a bit poor, this not leaving the house business. I would struggle with that. I got to be honest. I really would. Yeah,
well, I've been doing it for, nearly a month now, so I'm not really that bothered by it, because again I would only just be going for walks anyway, which round this way isn't particularly picturesque.
No, it's not like living here, is it? I mean, we're quite fortunate living in Stoney, I got to be honest, it's not a particularly busy place anyway, so we're alright really.
Once I get the other side of, I have to walk through Netherfield to get to Wolfton on the Green or Simpson or wherever, where there's some nice walks, and that's not.
Now you're better staying in, mate. To be quite honest, just to be on the safe side. You never know, do you? You know.
Yeah, I got an audio book to listen to. This Scepter Dial.
Oh right.
15 hours of listening.
Bloody hell.
Britain from 55 BC through to the early 20th or mid 20th century, I think it is.
Yeah, I've heard that on. It was a series on Radio 4. It went on for like years. That thing. Quite honest with you.
It did. I lasted about 20 minutes before I realised that I wasn't taking any of it in. So I just switched back to my favourite playlist to be done with it.
You got to invest in stuff like that. That's a lot of listening, isn't it? I got to be honest,
It's a very long time. 15 hours, and I just wasn't taking anything in, so I just switched it off after 20 minutes.
Probably for the best in it, I think.
Yeah.
Right then, T, what are we going to talk about this week?
I believe we were going to discuss, obviously this is somewhat dependent on what happens with the restart of football in this country.
Yeah, we should say before we go any further that we're recording on, what's the date today? It's the 15th, Wednesday the 15th, so the government are not going to make any decision on whether they're going to lift the lockdown until tomorrow night, which will be Thursday the 16th, but the general consensus being is that it's going to be extended for at least a month. So basically, everything I'm about to say is just, by the time you listen to this, will be out of date. But it is what it is. What can you do?
Well, do you know, we're talking about football coming back and how they're going to do it. And for JT's just told me he's released the Dean Lewington interview.
I have.
So I just want to say, because one of the reasons I had to send it to the press boys at MK Dons is because of some of the things he was saying about when football comes back and how they're going to do it and so on. Because obviously that's what Louis had heard at that point, which was 2 weeks ago yesterday.
Just to interject, I did put that on the description that it was recorded 2 weeks ago and those were purely Louis' views, so anyone that's taken it as what he says is gospel is
yes, exactly. So
it's 2 weeks out of date, to be quite honest.
Don't stick that all over Twitter or the forums or whatever, because obviously things are changing day by day. So, But I do have a little bit of a theory on the old football coming back.
Go on, then.
Similarly to what they did during the war, actually, when football finished, didn't it? But they still played, like guest teams played each other. And,
they did, yeah. It didn't completely finish, did it?
The Americans had female baseball and all that sort of stuff.
Madonna was one of them. I've seen that film.
What a great film that is.
Is it?
Honestly, that's one of my guilty pleasures. I really like that film. But the fact that Madonna dressed in a baseball outfit...
Did that just do you?
To be honest, but... now, I got a feeling that as part of, because it's almost certain the lockdown will continue, as part of that, it might be that players get... I wouldn't say preferential treatment, but they're protected from the great unwashed, so that they can entertain us, perhaps. So, as Louis was saying in his interview, they will play. What was it? Did he say 3 games in?
He said 3 games in about a week or something like that. That's asking a hell of a lot. That I got to be honest.
It is, but they would be shielded from the outside world. They'd be in complete isolation. The only time that they would mix with anybody else would be other footballers in the same situation. So I think that's a possibility. I mean, that when you think about it, 3 games in a week or 3 games in the space of 7 days.
Yeah. Oh, it can be done,
would be enough to be entertained. I mean, for those who don't like football, firstly, fuck you.
Yeah, what are you doing listening to this?
Exactly. So yeah, if you don't like football, it's not much use to you.
No.
But by the same token, I think that would certainly give us something to look forward to, us being the ultimate optimists, football fans, just being able to watch some football at the expense of having to stay indoors.
The problem you've got, Tony, is that the EFL have said that players, they can't return to training until at least May the 16th, which is a month from now. I mean, that's just not going to happen, is it? That can't happen.
Well, they're going to need to train. Basically, it's almost like going back from the closed season, pre-season training. It's going to be very similar because the players... one thing that occurred to me, and I forgot to ask Louis actually, was what about kicking a football? I suppose if you've got a garden, that's not a problem, but it's not the same. It's just not the same as training with a ball.
No, it isn't.
And
there's no way they'll be match sharp.
Or whatever.
They can't be match sharp. I mean, they just can't.
I know, you can't. But then everybody's in the same position, obviously. Yeah. So, but the players will need at least, I think I read Russell Martin said several weeks for the players to get back to some sort of, they're all trying to stay as fit as they possibly can, obviously, while they're at home, but there is the football side of things. And there will be players who won't have actually been able to do much kicking about in the ball. They live in a flat or
exactly.
apartment.
I mean, it's all right for, I don't know, someone that lives... like me, for example, we've got a fair-sized garden here. if I was of a mind, I could kick a football about my garden. But if you're like one of those young lads and you're living in a one-bedroom flat somewhere, I mean, what are you going to do? You just...
Yeah, I mean, I do know... I went... The club used to have a flat that was shared by players, usually lone players.
Yeah.
Lovely place it was, actually. And went round there and they had like tiny little goals set up and a foam ball just so they could have a kick around. Cause
what, inside the flat?
Inside the flat, yeah. I've actually considered this. I'm now looking at the possibility of... Well, I'm trying to track down two very small goals because my daughter has... she lives in a lovely flat herself, 2-bedroom flat, and it's got a very long hallway. It runs almost the length of her flat. Beautiful place it is. And I thought to myself, that would make the perfect football pitch. It's nice and long. It does go around a bend, to be fair, which is unusual on a football pitch. They don't usually have a bend in the middle of them.
I'm just looking at 2 fully gowned up health workers going in a house across the road from me at the minute with masks and all sorts of palaver. That doesn't look good, does it, that?
No, it doesn't. Actually, today I've seen... I
wonder what they're up to.
I've witnessed one household accepting visits and even having people come in from 5 other different households.
Really? Well, that ain't good, mate.
Yeah, so I don't know. What can you do about it, you know? I mean...
I don't know what to say. I'm not going to... I mean, I've got neighbours here that have had people in their garden that are not... You know, I mean, it happened at the weekend. It happened, I think it was either last night or the night before. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're the ones taking the risk. It's up to them, innit? You know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be one of these blokes that's going to, you know, stick a note through his door. It has come to my attention, you know, members of your immediate family are not, you know, I don't give a monkey's what happens, to be quite honest. I'm a bit fed up with the whole thing, really.
It's not going to help matters, is it?
No, it isn't. No. Anyway, back to what we were saying. Yeah. I mean, you got to ask where these games will be held. Will they be held at, like... I mean, home and away sort of thing. I mean, how's that going to work? I don't know how that's going to work, you know.
Well, I would have thought that it would be home and away, as per. But yeah, I mean that you could be onto something there. Maybe a single neutral venue.
And then they're all going. That's even worse, isn't it? You know, if you've got because I've done a bit of research for this, which will come as a surprise to everyone that listens to this podcast. But for the Premiership, if they were doing it behind closed doors, if you include both first teams, members of staff, you know, just logistics, it's somewhere in the region of 200 plus people that would be involved in that for each game. I think it's somewhere in the region of 230 odd. I mean, that's a lot of people. You couldn't have that. And
what? For why so many?
I don't know. I mean, that did come as a surprise to me, but that is the figure they were sort of quoting. You know, when you talk about medical staff and, you know, ground staff.
Oh, maybe for Premiership.
Well, that is Premiership. I mean, I couldn't find anything for League One or Championship.
Well, I was actually trying to work it out myself. So for a Dons game, I reckon you could get away with, obviously you're 18, you're 18 players, maybe 20. Just in case, you know, someone gets injured in a warm-up.
So that's 40 right there then, hasn't it? That's 40.
So there's 40, yeah, 2 squads of 20.
Yeah.
Then, say you got a manager, an assistant, a coach, a fitness...
Doctor and all that kind of business?
Doctors supplied by one club.
Yeah.
You have physio, assistant physio. So that's another 7, another 14.
Yeah.
Then you've
54 right there.
You've got club secretary has to be there.
You'd have to have people to run the actual ground because it's, you know, people have to be there to open it up. I suppose
you would have
electricity. It's a lot of people, Tony, that you don't think, you know.
In. So yeah, I mean, it could be getting upwards of. You could be getting towards 50 per side.
And then, if you think about it, if it's going to be televised, even if it's just an ifollow, which we'll come on to later on. I mean, there's got to be people running that as well, you know. It's got to be.
I think 250s. I mean, I'm sure it can be scaled down greatly from there, but at the same time, I think you'd be gradually creeping up in those numbers because, I mean, you could run it with, you could do it without a kit man. The players could look after their own boots.
Yeah.
The kit man wouldn't necessarily have to be there on the match day. He could wash the kit and prepare the kit,
could do.
get the change rooms ready or loaded, ready to travel without actually being in contact with the players. I mean, I would prefer to go to the game myself. That's just, obviously, I'd want to watch the game as well. But, that could be done. You could prepare the kit, set up the changing room if you were at home, for instance, or pack it all up, ready to travel with the team. I mean, Tisdale was one of the things that surprised me when he came in. They used to get all their own kit done themselves at games. They would jump off the bus. Yeah, they would jump off the bus at an away game. They'd quickly put all the kit out, and then the players would sit on the coach for 10 or 15 minutes. Then once the staff had put all the kit out, the players would go into the changing room.
What, the kit man didn't travel?
If they were, right. So I presume they had a kit man, but they obviously didn't travel to games by the sound of it because, again, it saves. I mean, I don't know how. Couldn't imagine to begin to think how much it cost for me to travel to, let's say a minimum of 25 away games per season.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at pennies,
particularly some seasons where everything seemed to be in Greater Manchester, and then add on top of that the cost of the coach and accommodation for the players and so on. So anything saved like that is a bonus. So yeah, I mean, there's loads of ways that they could save money. A friend of mine's on the pitch team. You know, the vultures that go out with a stretcher.
Yeah.
They would they be needed?
Oh yeah, I mean, you'd have to have. Well, I would say if someone breaks a leg, someone's going to have to be able to get them off the pitch, aren't they? And then you've got the added complication of what happens if someone does get injured, and then they have to be taken to, hospital. It's just an absolute... Yeah. It's a myriad of things that you just don't think about.
Well, this is one of the things I think... I mean, obviously, if you ask enough people, and we've only been talking about this for 15 minutes, we've already come up with, various possible issues, such as, what if someone does break a leg? Where do they go? Do they go to a standard hospital?
Yeah,
is there is there a sectioned off? Is there a special secret EFL hospital that they could go to, or that are dotted around the place?
Well, it was said today. The health service have said today that people are actually not going to hospital at the minute. People that should go, they're not going. So they've said, if you feel that you should go, please come. Because A&E is quite empty apparently, because people just don't want to go for obvious reasons.
I mean, I can imagine that, and I don't know if we've actually said, but we're trying to work out the pitfalls of the return of football and how they're going to do it. And my theory, similarly, or based on what Louis has said, is that the players will basically live in a bubble, even more so now. If they do it the way Louis was suggesting, it will be in complete isolation behind closed doors. There'll be 3 games a week by the sound of it. Again,
how many games have we got left, Tony? Sorry, I'm not sure. How many games is there left, mate?
There's only, is it 11? I think we've got.
You're looking at 3 weeks then, aren't you? Probably 4
It might not even be 11, I don't think it's...
We've got 4 at home, I know that.
Yeah, there's quite... It might actually be 9. There's a few that obviously have a few games in hand.
There's that, isn't there?
And the like. Such as... who's got the terrible pitch? Tranmere, isn't it?
That'll be all right now. Won't it be lovely now?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you never know with Tranmere. We have got... bearing in mind that we're only playing 44 games this season.
Oh, yeah, there's that as well.
We've got 9 games. Tranmere have got 10. Rochdale have got 10. Ipswich have got 8. Anything between 8 and 10... So, yeah, it can be done. They're saying 56 days, aren't they?
If you were to ask me now what I think's going to happen, I think it'll be abandoned, the whole thing, and I'm including the Premiership in this. I really am, because I'm not sure if you're aware of what's happening in Scotland at the minute. Have you been following that absolute shit show? What they've done?
What is this?
They want the season to finish as it is at the minute, where everyone stands at the minute. That's how they want it to finish. And the sort of SFA's argument is that they can't release any prize money until the season's finished. So that's what they're saying. But it's being driven by one club, obviously, the club that will be crowned champions, and the sort of majority of the other clubs, they're going along with it, but there are 3 or 4, Rangers being one of them, Dundee being another one, I think Partick Thistle, and I'm pretty sure it's Motherwell, have all said, no, we don't want to do that, so they're a bit of a stalemate at the minute. But, I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to that. I don't know, I mean, like Liverpool should be champions, they just should be, but I don't know what to say. Perhaps the fairest thing would be just to abandon this year, I don't know. I don't know, Tony, I really don't.
Well, the two problems with abandon. I mean, you could give Liverpool the championship, which they're almost certainly going to win anyway.
But Tony, like I said, sort of what I've written here is there's always going to be a question mark against Celtic's 9 in a row because they've not won it, you know? Because there is still a chance that someone else could come and beat them. And it's the same with Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool have technically not won the league, have they? Because, I mean, how unlikely it would have been. There was still a chance that someone else could come behind and beat them. So there's always going to be a question mark against it, Tony. There just is.
Yeah, and if you were to finish the season now, no one would ever acknowledge that Liverpool won it.
Never.
Because they won't have done.
No, they won't have done,
they didn't play all their games.
Yeah.
Then, aside from the absolute, God knows what, you know, would they? Does that include relegation?
Well, this is the problem. I mean, up in Scotland, the woman that's the chair of Hearts. I mean, she said if this goes ahead, we will be they will be issuing legal proceedings because they'll get relegated, you know. And technically, they're not relegated yet. You know, I mean, you can't relegate someone, can you?
I don't see. It seems to be very. I mean, I can only imagine. I don't see the advantage of completing the season when you don't even know when you can start the next one.
No.
And if it all just seems a bit silly to me, why not just wait till you can start playing again and then finish the season?
But then what happens with next season? What happens? I mean, Louis did say it on that podcast. What happens with guys that are out of contract? And
it doesn't matter when next season starts.
No, I mean, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No.
If all your players fuck off somewhere else, then, I mean, something needs to be done. As I said before, the contract thing is going to be the biggest thing. And I think that is the issue. And I believe that's why they want to get it done as quickly as possible. Because the only thing that you could possibly imagine is that there'll be contract extensions. Again, not just from the players' point of view. That isn't necessarily an advantage for the clubs because they may still be paying high wages for players who they knew were going to be sold on in June.
Yeah.
So again, there's a whole load of
there's
problems.
a myriad of things once you start getting into it. I mean, for example, say they do start playing, are we going to be watching it on ifollow? Because the EFL have still not agreed to easing this 3 p.m. ban in watching games, you know? I mean, they're dragging their heels. I mean, I know they don't know what's going on any more than we do, you know? But they don't seem to be...
There's absolutely no reason for that 3 o'clock thing to be lifted now.
But they've not even discussed it, Tony, you know?
The reason it was brought in is so that people wouldn't sit at home and not go and watch Milton Keynes.
But now everyone sat at home, so, you know...
But yeah,
there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for
no. So
why
haven't they just immediately said now? I mean, from what I've heard on the radio last week, that is going to happen.
I would have thought so. You know,
it just hasn't been done yet. So I don't know if they're dragging their feet on that particular issue, but that's got to be done. It's got to be ifollow. I can't see any other option
way it can be done, you know,
unless one of the terrestrial stations take on. There'd be no point in giving it to Sky because...
I mean, you'd have to have... I mean, there's not enough channels, is there, to see every game, is there? You'd have to...
No, exactly.
You'd have to subscribe to your team, wouldn't you?
If you put it on Sky, Sky could easily show every game live.
Oh, they could do on the red button,
yeah. Yeah, no problem at all. But, I mean, personally, if it went to Sky, it'd be an absolute disaster for those people who haven't got Sky.
Exactly.
Because there'd be no option for you to get Sky installed unless they offered a streaming service like ifollow.
That's not going to work. They're not going to do that.
ifollow is the obvious one.
ifollow is the obvious solution,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an infrastructure problem, whether it was Sky or ifollow or whoever. So I don't think that's relevant. I think what's more relevant is, if it did go to someone like Sky, would you need a satellite dish?
Exactly.
Would you need the box?
I mean, most people, even I follow. I mean, there are some people that just can't. Can't. I mean, I know what can you say? I mean, I don't know what to say, but it's really. It's not really what we should be concerned ourselves with, really, is actually just getting the season finished. But I genuinely can't see how they're going to do it. I really don't. And the more I've thought about it today, I mean, I just can't see how it will get done, I really don't.
Well, I think they're looking at, because we don't know when the lockdown's going to finish or when people will start going out again. And more importantly, when we'll be able to go and watch a football match.
Well, this is the other thing, Tony. I've read this week that it was based in America, but there was some guy in America saying that you can't have mass gatherings like anywhere in the world until until there's some solution to this. And they're not talking about having a solution to it for 18 months. There's no way in God's green earth can that happen. It just cannot happen. There's no way that we can have another year and a half of this. That's just... No is the answer to that. I'm sorry, no. It just can't happen, that. Until they've got a vaccine for it. If they're talking 18 months before a vaccine's developed, and that's only... That's being optimistic. There's no way. No, I mean, it's just not going to happen, that. It just isn't.
Well, I was listening to the radio this morning, and SmithKline Beecham?
That's them, yeah.
Plus another big pharmaceutical company have joined forces, apparently, to work on this vaccine. I mean, I'm no expert in this field, but I would imagine that should speed the process up somewhat. There'll be certain rules, Ben, I would imagine, on testing period time.
There would have been a thought
periods and that sort of thing. But I think what if, let's say, this does die down and it's not being eradicated, but the spread has been reduced to basically nothing by, let's say, July. We're going to get to sort of December, January of next year again, and it's going to be back again.
There's another peak then. What happens then? Do we all shut down again? Are we all going to be stuck in at Christmas? I mean, it's all right at the minute because it's like spring and it's been beautiful weather. What happens again if it comes again in December and we're all stuck inside and there's no football and you can't even go outside?
I believe it will be back in December, as will the flu.
Yeah, which is what happens,
It's here to stay unless you can eradicate it completely.
Whatever happens, I mean, going forward, football is never going to be the same again. It just won't be. Well, how can it be?
Well, I was having a think about this, and I was going to ask you the question, but I can't think of a single thing. What do you think will change? And I'm not talking about wages or when players' contracts will run to and from now on. I mean, your match day experience.
Your match day experience. That's a difficult. I mean, it's a difficult situation, that, because you don't know how you're going to feel. I mean, every time I'm out for a walk, I'm giving people a massive wide berth at the minute. I mean, I just am. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what will happen when you're inside.
I think this is going to be the thing. I think probably handshaking.
That'll
disappear.
go. That's gone. That is definitely.
Hugging.
No, not doing that.
Well, you never did anyway.
No, I was not a hugger. I got to be honest. I never was.
I think there will be more, possibly not necessarily unconscious social distancing, but there'll be a sort of a gentleman's agreement, maybe a hard stare every now and again, just in case someone oversteps the mark, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm already thinking about, what would they do at the stadium, and that they've already got the first two rows behind the home dugout are not for sale. You can't buy a seat there. I do sit there, but would they then move that back?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, sort of without making a joke about it, we could socially distance at Stadium MK. We could. I mean, we could have our own each, to be quite honest.
It sounds silly, but it is.
We could do that, couldn't we? Yeah, we could do it here.
It's definitely possible, and with a very simple algorithm.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone could calculate or recalculate everybody's season tickets so that they're within a reasonable. I mean, places like Block 11 obviously are going to be an issue.
I mean, that's going to kill the atmosphere. That is it. It is.
Yeah, but
I mean, but at the end of the day, that's the least of your worries, isn't it? Killing the atmosphere.
Well, if it meant you could go back and watch football.
Yeah, I'd go. I mean,
but people wouldn't stick to it.
No, they definitely wouldn't. No chance.
Well, it's my seat. I've sat here for 15 years. I want to sit here.
Yeah, my name's in the back of that seat. He's in my seat.
Yeah, he's in my seat, or I want my seat. It's my seat. I paid for my seat. You're always going to get people like that. You're always going to get people who are going to be moaning about that, like the ones that who can't get their seat for a cup game because the section is closed off, or someone came. Well, I can't remember what. Well, it was for now. Was it for? Oh, it might have been the Spurs game. Do you remember when Spurs played?
Yeah, and he wanted his seat because he thought it was I can imagine.
Yeah, and he thought he wanted his seat, and he couldn't understand why a Spurs season ticket holder had taken his seat.
I've seen it for England games when England have turned up. The England like.
Oh, there's a prime example. Yeah. There's a prime example where
and they're trying to explain to them
the ladies. Yeah. The seats were sold block by block, and they worked their way round the stadium. So we only sold one block at a time. Opened up another one when that got full.
And so it's the FA that are selling them, not Milton Keynes Dons. They don't know that.
Yeah,
either,
exactly.
Really.
So you'd have people waiting 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Until it got to their block, and you just think, what? I know you people like their seat and whatever, but it's not your seat when it's an England game.
No.
It's not your seat if Spurs are playing Watford. It's not your seat for fucking Rod Stewart, But
so what do you think then will actually happen? Because, I mean, I was listening to the Today programme this morning. They had Mark Palios on it. He was who Mark Palios is?
Yeah.
Like, he's the lead. Well, he's the ex-Football League chief executive, and they asked him, like, how many clubs did he think will go bust, and he didn't give a figure, but he said it will definitely be in double figures. I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
There was a headline on the BBC, I think it was, and it's saying, what's this thing about Dundee United, by the way, or Dundee make U-turn on this PFL vote? Dundee vote in favour of the proposal.
Yeah, I mean, they've said that I can't make head nor tail of that. No one up in Scotland can say that, They've no idea what's going on up there, They just don't.
Yeah, well, it says there was a headline somewhere which said there's at least a couple, maybe more EFL clubs that could go out of business in the next few days. Certainly, I mean, just in the very near future.
To be like, I don't know, I mean, our biggest rivals. I mean, they've been asking people for money to build a stadium. They don't have enough money. I mean, they've got to be one of them. You're looking at Bury, Bolton. I mean, Bury have gone already. I mean, Bolton must be one of the prime ones. You've got Sunderland. They're right in it. I mean, these are big clubs. I mean, what's going to happen then, Tony? Is it going to be like Scotland, where there are so few teams that we're going to end up playing out? We're going to end up playing each other 4 times a season. Is that what's going to happen?
That could be the thing. That could be the massive change. Is that instead
a smaller league,
instead of 92 clubs,
we 70 odd,
end up with 70 or 60 or who knows, and that could be, and that's not necessarily survival of the fittest. That's completely the wrong phrase. I don't know why I said that, but it could come to it where. With the best will in the world, we know Bury could have been saved if a few clubs in the Premier League had put their hands in their pockets. They could have been. I mean, have you seen this? We were talking earlier about Major Moore, is it? Walking around his garden.
Yes.
It's gone over £6 million now.
I know.
It went over £6 million. I donated a tenner last night. It was 3.3 million. It's gone to 6 million today. That just shows what can be done. I mean, that's not a great example because that's general, the public. But that's not to say that Bury couldn't have been saved if. But then, if Bury
we had this discussion, didn't we, on this podcast?
To a certain extent.
Yeah, I mean, they brought it on themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, if you've got 20 clubs that are financially on the brink of collapse, at what point do you say no more? There's only so much money that the EFL can could give to clubs, and if
Well,
they're
what
not,
about the
if it's
government
not-
then? Should the government give them financial help? I mean,
Well, it's not. Well, the thing is, it's not through financial mismanagement, is it, or
No, it isn't,
bad
no.
management in general?
No.
It's simply because of the coronavirus.
you've got clubs the likes of, is it Bournemouth? I mean, they've said that, they're really struggling. I think, what's the other one? Sean Dyche's manager. Can't keep getting that wrong. Burnley, is it? I mean, they're right in it.
Yeah.
You've got Southampton, and I thought Southampton were pretty well off, but apparently not. I mean, these are Premier League clubs, and they're saying we will go out of business.
Yeah.
If you've got Premier League clubs saying they'll go
because
bust,
they're still paying full wages to their players, and even with 30% cuts.
yeah.
I mean, 30% off $100,000 a week, still 70 grand
I
a
know.
week.
You still got to find that, haven't you?
Yeah. So, if there is financial help there available from the government or the EFL, at which point do you say we can only save 10 clubs?
Well, this is the problem, and then it's like we said about Hearts earlier on. I mean, there's going to be, legal, legal repercussions flying in left, right, and centre with this. There just is. Because see, once this settles down, I mean, people are going, "Oh, the world's going to change." There's no way the world's going to change. Football rivalries will just be exactly the same as they ever were. They just will be. I don't care what people say. They just will.
I mean, things will go back to, we won't forget about this quickly,
No.
I'm sure. But I've got a feeling that we'll be looking back on it either as a really, really terrible time, or what was the fucking problem?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those two things, isn't it? You're not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this started. Let's say this started on the 1st of March, and let's say, for argument's sake, everything's back to normal by the 1st of August.
Yeah.
What's that? So March, April, May, June, July. That's
5
months.
months.
5 months in your lifetime. It feels like forever. Well, it is feeling like forever now.
It does at the minute. Yeah, I've got to be honest.
But I do. I meant to keep some sort of diary. Just not about what I was doing, but just the mood of the country and the things that were happening. I mean, what I can see happening is that, and quite ironically, obviously, there should be a government inquiry into the government's handling, because the whole just the supplying of protection.
They were just not. I mean, no one can see this coming, could they? No one.
Testing is not happening, and
No.
I've got a prime example. My cousin, a nurse, she died. Funeral today. She died because of this work, being a nurse, treating people with this virus. That's how she got it. That shouldn't be happening.
It shouldn't be.
That should be happening to the people that are helping people trying to survive the virus. They shouldn't be getting the virus themselves.
No.
And I think that, and I'm hearing the word absolutely a lot, and that's never good when a politician starts using the word absolutely a lot. We are absolutely doing as much as we can. We are absolutely dedicated to doing whatever we can and as much as we can and hitting these targets. But they're not getting anywhere near it, and it's not good enough. And I think that Boris is out of hospital now. Did you see the conspiracy theories?
Oh, yeah, I was reading all that. They say you watch, they'll get them out on Sunday, and you just think, nah, I mean, I don't go for that personally. I'm not a great believer in conspiracy theories, I got to be honest. I mean, I don't believe any of them,
No, I mean, the 5G thing as well is hilarious.
It's just... there's some guy burnt one down last night, didn't it? It was right outside one of these new hospitals. Then, thus ensuring that the hospital didn't have any mobile signal. Well done, mate. That was a belter, that.
Well, people in Milton Keynes should be especially terrified.
Should we?
Well, as we haven't got 5G, I would be somewhat surprised if anybody were to... and the other thing is, if it was due to 5G radiation, which is not, by the way, if it was due to 5G radiation, do you not think hundreds of thousands of NHS employees would not notice that we're treating someone for radiation poisoning rather than the effects of a virus?
People are really stupid, Tony.
By saying that the symptoms are identical.
Do you remember that guy, Tony, when we were on the radio that was on before us? That older bloke? You might not remember him.
What, the Godbotherer or the?
He was.
No, yeah, I remember. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
You know who I mean? He's a conspiracy theorist. That bloke. I'm not going to say his name.
There's a lot more of them now. I mean, my daughter asked me about the 5G thing, and I said, like, straight off the top of my head,
it's rubbish.
Milton Keynes hasn't got 5G anyway at the moment. Very few cities in this country have got full 5G. Liverpool and Birmingham are one of those, which is where the first masts were burnt or whatever. But to me, it's surely, if you're a doctor or a nurse, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, surely if they would know the difference between treating someone for radiation poisoning than they would a virus. Do you know what I mean?
I would have thought they would have noticed it, Tony, I got to be honest.
But quite conveniently, the conspiracy theorists have said, as I say, that the symptoms
are the same.
Of 5G radiation poisoning, by the way, which is completely different to any other radiation poisoning, is the symptoms are identical to coronavirus.
See, the thing about these conspiracy theories, Tony, is they're all, they're very convenient, aren't they? With their explanations.
Well, they are. I mean, that's the beauty of them, though, isn't it?
It really is.
If you could present something like the moon landings, why are there no stars in the sky? Well, there's a simple answer to that.
Not simple enough for them.
No, but, like the flat earthers. If you listen to flat earthers long enough, they will convince you that the earth is flat.
Yeah, I mean, I know a guy, I work beside a guy, he's a carpenter, this bloke, and he's got some fantastic theories. His best one is about Diet Coke. Don't ever drink Diet Coke because they, inverted commas, they put something in it, Tony. So don't be drinking that. That's not Diet Coke, you've just opened us at all.
Well, is it mind control?
Apparently. I mean, so what we're saying is, we don't know what's going to happen with the football or with this, this virus nonsense. So we've tried our best to fill 40 odd minutes.
We won't be upgrading to 5G though.
No chance. So what we're saying is, I personally will be amazed if we're back in a month's time, even behind closed doors. No chance.
I can see the players going back mid-May. I can see that.
Perhaps training behind closed doors, like on the pitch kind of thing,
Doors. There'd have to be. I mean, obviously, the obvious solution for MK Dons would be to train on the pitch at the stadium.
It would be.
I mean, pretty much every club would have that option.
Every club could do that.
And you have their own private training grounds anyway, which are
easy to
so
there's that, isn't there?
That side of things isn't a major issue. So this week's task for the listeners is send us your ideas. You don't have to do a whole grand scheme of them, but just let us know what you think will happen in terms of when football comes back. How will it work?
Would you be happy to pay extra to watch it on ifollow over and above your season ticket?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be one of these moaners that wants their money back for the games you've not seen?
Yeah, there'll be plenty of them. There's
a lot of them on the Facebook groups because I've looked the last couple of days.
I've already seen it on the Facebook group. I mean, if you've got a family of season tickets,
I mean, it's all right for us to slag them off, but there are people that are genuinely, in financial straits. They are
worth a few quid.
Yeah,
it can be worth a few quid if you've got a family of 4 or 5.
I mean, you're already out for the the Bury game, aren't you? For that.
Yeah. So that's fair. But if it's, if it was someone like me who just goes on their own, or any adult who doesn't have accompanying children by default shouldn't be allowed to claim it back anyway, as far as I'm concerned.
Unless they just give us it for nothing. I mean, either way, I'd be happy if if they want me to pay a tenner, I'll pay a tenner to watch it. It's not the end of the world,
Yeah, I think from what Louis was saying this is just what he said a couple of weeks ago that may not happen. It was just something that was thrown around at the time, that if you are a season ticket holder, you will get a reduced cost with a special code or something, but other people will obviously be allowed to buy it to watch it, but it will be cheaper for season ticket holders. So, so send us your ideas, what you think it could be any aspect of it. It doesn't matter what it is. As I said, you don't have to cover every single eventuality. You can if you want, but you don't have to. Let's have your thoughts, your ideas, your theories. mkdonsradioshow@gmail.com.
And what I'd like to say is, if you are sending us emails, can you send them in before we finish recording the show to what you're sending them in for? Because we've had two recently, Tony, that have come in like a day after we've actually recorded. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, actually, we should.
We'll get you time to read them out if you want.
We got Roger's all-time Don's 11,
and then we've got
which he sent in an hour after we started recording the actual.
And then
podcast.
I think Woburn sent one in a load of what ifs.
He's gone for a 4-4-2.
Oh, go on.
Manager Paul Ince. He's gone Adam Smith, Anthony Kay, Sean O'Hanlon, Dean Lewington.
Good.
Luke Chadwick, Dele Alli, Keith Andrews, Jason Punchin, Griggy, and Eisel. Subs, he's gone Jabbo, Jay O'Shea. You haven't actually given us a goalkeeper there, Rog. So, and you've only got 3 subs.
I thought Louis' team was very reminiscent of my own team, didn't you think? I was quite pleased with that.
It's pretty much bang on it. I mean, you didn't have Griggy in yours, did you?
I didn't have Griggy, and I had Willie in goals, but apart from that, that was pretty much my team, you know?
Yeah, so, Roger, it's a good job you're not picking the team, because you didn't pick a goalkeeper full stop. But, again, for those who don't know, Rog is your regular box office match day steward, and he makes a lovely lemon drizzle cake.
Does he really? Oh, I love a lemon drizzle, mate.
It is outstanding. We did Mark Costello.
He sent us one, and maybe we should keep that for next week, because there's a lot in that, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a few interesting questions actually, which that could be a whole conversation in itself by the look of it from that email. So
I mean, we've done 50 odd minutes already, you know.
Yeah, John Samuel sent us a MK Don's cast.
He did. That was odd, wasn't it?
Call it from 10 years ago.
10 years, Tony.
From 10 years ago. Did
you listen to the whole thing? Because I only listened to about 5 minutes of it.
I listened to probably about 2/3 of it.
Right.
It was fairly standard stuff. It was recorded in a pitchside bar. It was hosted by myself.
Our voices have changed, Tony. We're not as polite as we used to be.
No, exactly.
I was very polite on it, wasn't I?
There were 3 Johns. There was you, John Samuel, and John Brockwell, a.k.a. Digger.
Yeah.
Chairman of the MKDSA at the time.
He was at the time, yes, he was, yeah.
Yeah, chairman of the MKDSA. The late, great George Poulton.
Yeah, that was a bit of a thing, wasn't it, listening to that? I must admit.
Yeah, and...
I don't know what to do with that. If someone wants me to put it out, I'll put it out.
If you want us to put it out, John could actually just email you or we could just email you the link if you wanted to.
Do. I don't mind putting it out. It's not the end of the world, is it?
There's an interview at the beginning of it, a 20-minute interview, which isn't myself or JT.
I skipped that bit, to be quite honest with you, Tony.
Yeah.
I really did.
It's an interview with John Cove.
From 10 years ago?
From 10 years ago.
Oh, I mean, that might be interesting, really.
Of all people, on the dot.
That did, when you told me who that was earlier on, I did think, I had no idea who that was. None at all.
That was an interview by On the Dot. Now, I can't remember if I asked him to do the interview for me or if he asked me to put the interview into that particular episode.
It's 10 years ago, Tone. It's not yesterday, that.
It was 10 years ago, yeah. So, yeah, that was... I
was quite surprised when we were talking about that it was Robert that was manager at the time. That came as a surprise. I was still moaning, wasn't I? You would have been 30 seconds into it and I was moaning.
Was that November? Was it November?
It must have been, yeah.
November 2010?
It must have been, yeah. I know it was a winter because I remember the game they were talking about. You know, I can remember going.
I'm just trying to remember if I went. I don't think I did.
I don't think you did. I think me and John Samuel were there, and that was it.
I think I'd just started. I'd just been working for the club for just over a month, I think.
I mean, it was an interesting thing. I mean, I will put it out. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I get plenty of time to do it. If people are interested in listening to what we used to be like 10 years ago, I will definitely put it up.
Yeah. So if you want to have a listen to that, let us know. We've got this 10-year-old. I mean, I've got one from even older than that. Me and Franco doing a radio show.
I mean, that would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Saved somewhere where we weren't just talking about football. We were talking about. I think we had the
basketballers.
The basketball people
in that tiny little room.
Yeah, exactly. I've also had an email from James Reese.
Who's he?
Some of you might remember James was a young lad that used to look after the stall at CMK, the new one that had a very short life. Unfortunately, only slightly longer than James's career at MK Dons, as he was basically the first victim of the cuts that we had to endure after relegation. So that's James. If anybody's trying to think of who he is,
what did he say?
He's looking to compile a book.
Is that who that was? Right, I did read that. Yeah. Yeah.
So he wants fans to give their memories of certain games. Again, it can be a memorable game like. Well, he's asked me to do the Man United game from my view, as Kitman. So he's also looking for early doors games like the first game against Barnsley, the Tranmere game last day of the season. What was the hockey stadium like? Now I don't know how old he is, but maybe he didn't go to a game at the hockey stadium. But
really?
And what was it like to be an MK Dons fan in 2004? And in those early seasons, I've asked him for some sort of context or details on what he wants, like a word count, or
just want stories or what.
Yeah, so I think this is his first attempt. I don't think he quite understands what he's trying to take on here.
No, I don't think he does.
But he will need to give further details about, how many words he wants.
Yep.
Does he want to know what I had for breakfast that morning? That sort of thing. So if you have anything, you can send them to us at mkdonsradioshow@gmail.com, or you can send them to James himself at James Reese. That's James REES 40 at hotmail.co.uk. James Reese REES 40 at hotmail.co.
I tell you who he should get in contact with, and I'm not saying this ironically, he should get in contact with Dan McCalla, because if there's one guy that could tell how to lay a book out, it would be him.
Yeah, I think Dan would charge, though. In fact, I know he would.
Oh, well, no, he's not doing it then. Right, I think that's us for another week, to be quite honest. That's an hour.
Indeed. So send us your ideas, or what your thoughts or your theories about what may or may not happen with football coming back, how it's going to work, how it'll be for the fans, anything at all, any single thought that you want, mkdonsradioshow@gmail.com. We're not bothered about the content, just send us some stuff.
And can you also send us some ideas what we're going to talk about next week, because I'm right bang out of them now, I got to be honest.
Yeah, well, we have got, like you say, we're going to save Mark's question for next week, or questions. This is following on from the what ifs.
Yeah, it's more what ifs.
Yeah, it's a discussion we have had before to a certain extent, but we can expand on it with some of the questions he's got in here. Again, we are really struggling now to find content.
We are a bit. I mean, I'll come up with something.
Yeah,
even if I steal it from someone else.
The reason we're doing this is because you asked us to carry on. So
yes.
Try and come up with some ideas. There you go. Send us your ideas for stuff to talk about as well.
If you want us to keep doing it, you've got to get involved.
Yeah, get involved. Give us some ideas. Give us some questions. Anything at all, just to keep us chatting for roughly 45 to 60 minutes.
And also, if you've not already listened to it, because it's already gone out, there is a fantastic interview with Dean Lewington that Tony did a couple of weeks ago, like we talked about earlier. The audio is not brilliant. I've tried I've done my best with it, and you can listen to it, but if you've not listened to it, I'd advise you to listen to it on headphones.
Yeah, that's a really good interview. That's me and Louis chatting shit for an hour.
It's a good interview, that. I mean, it's like two mates chatting, Tony. That's why it's a good interview,
He does, and he actually names his all-time favourite 11.
He does.
Which in itself is worth hearing,
Yep.
just to see what the great man himself thinks of all those players that he's played with.
Yep.
Who the best 11, and although there'll be no surprises in there.
The funniest thing he says was when he's talking about Danny Swales. That killed me, that did. It really did. Why are we signing this load of shit or something, he says.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't hold back, Louis.
No, he doesn't. No, he's very good.
He doesn't hold back at all. So, if you want to hear his all-time 11 and his reasons for it, and he gives a really good insight into playing with certain players. And, yeah, it confirms a lot of the things that we've been saying for years in terms of certain players like Darren Potter.
Yeah.
In particular, when Delhi came into the team, which John touched on.
Yeah.
In the what ifs last week. So, yeah, it's a really good listen, if only for his all-time 11, because the rest of it is pretty much me and him talking about getting pissed.
But like I say, the audio is not great. You can listen to it, and I've done my best with it, but don't be complaining that you can't understand what he's saying, because I've done my best. And you're getting it for nothing anyway. And he's given an hour of his time for nothing. So,
He has.
So listen to that. It's already up there. By the time you listen to this, you've all probably listened to it anyway. But if it slipped through the net, it's on our Facebook page and all over the internet and on the Concrete Roundabout. The links are there. So listen to that.
Is it on Twitter?
Yeah, I've twittered it, Tony.
Yeah, because I'm going to have a listen to it myself, because I tried listening to my version, which was painful.
It's better. It's better than your version. I've run it through like a couple of filters about 4 or 5 times. I could have kept going, but I don't think it would have made that much difference, Like, you're quieter and he's louder, basically, than the one you sent originally, but you're still significantly louder than he is, to be quite honest, unfortunately. which I believe, Tony, is your way.
Louis interview is on there, so on the Sit Down and We'll Steal Your Club, SDOWSYC1, or at SDOWSYC1.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. You should be following us anyway, if you're not.
Yeah, if you're not already following, follow that. You can find that through me or John.
Yep, so that's us for another week. So next week, if I can't come up with anything, I would seriously like some ideas from you guys, because basically I am out of ideas, but I can. I've got a week to come up with something. I can find something, but if you guys have got anything you want us to discuss, please feel free. Yes, indeed.
Good stuff. Right, we'll see you next week for number 36.
Is it? Oh, blimey, that's great. Right, we'll see you next week. See ya. Bye.
Ta-da.